better.
That was
What?
somebody's OtterBox or whatever the hell. That AI stuff. I don't know who that is.
Who is that? Do we know who it is?
It's that guy in LA. I think.
Oh, it's that guy in LA.
I forgot his name.
Probably Alexa.
Yeah, and her too.
I think he has the AI read the meeting and make the notes.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's amazing what AI does now. It's just crazy.
So there's a lot of observations I have for AI.
Yeah. I think it's one of those things that it's like, all right, you just got to get it's there now, and it's not going to go away.
Just like
And it's
Google.
only going to get better, or meaning better or worse, depending on what angle you're viewing it from.
Well, it's garbage in, garbage out. Still,
Mhm.
same thing.
Yeah, it is important that you know what you're talking. Like it's there as a. I use it so if I'm writing anything, I'll write a paragraph, and then I'll say, "Hey, can you rewrite this in a certain style?" But I have to know what I want to say and how I want to say it, and then I go, "Ooh, that's good," and I might take bits and pieces of it, But it is important that you're in control of it rather than it kind of controlling you.
And that is a huge learning curve for most people on new platforms or apps.
Yeah.
And then, of course, our demographic doesn't really apply anyway. So we had a discussion earlier today with another meeting I was in, and
Was that the Tuesday morning one?
no, this was my national group.
Okay.
Senior home coach. And so we're talking about AI, and that for us as professional service providers, it's a great resource. But for our clients and for engaging in marketing and actually prospecting or converting our clients,
Yeah.
it's not a tool for that.
I would agree. I mean, yeah. I mean, the final, in telecom talk, they would call that the last mile, so the closing, that has, whoever's talking has to know that the person that they're dealing with is a human and relatable and is professional and is an expert, understands the needs and can deliver, and that, yeah, you're not going to get that talking to a machine or with any AI.
Oh, see, it is.
Yeah, is that his name, Mark?
Yeah.
Because I remember the last time he was on, he was doing that.
Mm-hmm.
So people do that all the time. They don't want to attend the meeting, so they have the AI attend the meeting, take the notes.
And then they never read them.
I know. I do that. I never go back to it.
Yeah. I mean, really, if you don't have the time now, what's, are you going to take the time to read the notes or,
So Valerie.
Yeah.
Hey, there's Valerie. How are you?
Hi.
Did you know? Oh, because you came in the middle of it, but Compass bought Christie's.
I heard that was going to happen, but I didn't know it had happened.
I read that this morning.
When did it actually go down? Yesterday.
Yeah. What?
Compass bought everybody over the last 5 years. Yeah, Alon Pinnell was their first.
I know.
And then little by
personally
little,
aware of that story.
Yeah, Christie's is a huge. That's a huge win for them.
Well,
I have a number of clients from the Morgan Hill office, and it'd be interesting. Does that mean they'll Will they keep the brand or will they all convert to Chris or to Compass?
They
Did the
become-
article say? Valerie, do you know?
Yeah, most likely they become Compass.
Wow.
Same thing, so I don't know if you remember Alon Canal, but
I
Alon
remember
Canal,
that name. Yeah, seeing it.
they were basically the boutique realtor in the Bay Area, all luxury listings through the nineties and the early 2000s. And little by little, as technology actually started really affecting the real estate market and changing things, and then eventually, that was the first trophy prize that Compass went after. Because
Wow.
they had all of the luxury listings, high-end listings. And it had a kind of Alon Canal had a particular mystique about it. It was a very outstanding and kind of exclusive kind of brokerage. You couldn't just go there and join.
Right.
And so, but anyway, one by one, they've just been knocking them off. And,
Wow.
you know, we're going to see that. We're going to see that with MLSs also.
Yeah.
As time passes. So
A
really,
lot of folks I'm hearing about MLS, they're very concerned whether MLS will exist in 12 months, you know?
yeah. It's hard to say. In this area, well, literally, we have 9 in this area, so I
Wow.
wouldn't be surprised to see a consolidation of them.
Yeah.
Meaning, when I say this area, I mean Sacramento to Marin to
Yeah.
San Fernando County, San
You kind
Benito.
of Northern California type.
Yeah,
Yeah. Wow.
we'll see. I think we're gonna see dramatic changes. And I mean, that's what the DOJ has been pushing for a long time. So, now that they have the lawsuit behind us, on to the next. Well, Julie, why don't we go ahead? I mean, I know.
I'm gonna give it till 11:40. So I was watching the clock here and, skip.
It is December, you know, it's the quieter time. It's like, okay.
This happens in December, you know.
Yeah, I'm quiet. I mean, I'm good. This gives
December.
me,
This is business planning for 2025 month.
It is.
I want to practice giving presentations to going around doing some, excuse the phrase, but broker tours where I go to different brokerages and
Yeah.
jump in on their meetings just to do some presentations.
Yes.
This is a good one. So it's kind of like you want to, for me, I want to pick topics that I can discuss with some credibility, but I'm not doing a sales pitch.
Yeah.
The sales pitch is just happen to meet people and they'll ask me what I do, but the presentation would always be about something that I'm parallel with, you know, but it's primarily focused on how they could use some of this stuff, if that makes
Yes.
sense.
Exactly. So having said that, let's get started.
Alrighty.
And we will, I've already been recording, so we're on.
Yes.
And we're just gonna let you go, Eric.
Alrighty. So there, that's the presentation. I think that's the presentation. Share. And you can all see that.
Yep.
Let me make sure now I've got the right button there we go. Okay. Alrighty. So to the big audience in the room, nice. Thank you for showing up to this. Can you remind me, Julie, what the acronym means? The S, R, and so on. There's the 4-letter acronym.
Seniors Real Estate Specialist.
Okay, awesome.
So
Perfect.
we are the Seniors Real Estate Specialists. It's a NAR designation, National Association of Realtors. And we work with senior homeowners and families of senior homeowners.
Okay, perfect. Good. So just to start, for anybody listening after the fact, thank you for listening. And I was asked to give a talk on drone use and how agents can use drones and what are the pitfalls or what are the regulations to do that. So the title is Navigating Drone Use in Real Estate. And then we're going to, a quick introduction, we're going to go over regulations, training, costs, privacy, some challenges, pitfalls, and then various links to find more information, and then a quick Q&A. if you're listening, of course, or rejoin us later, you won't be able to ask me questions. But you can always use the email or phone me up. That's information at the last slide. Okay, about the speaker. My name is Eric Joyce. I'm the owner of EJP.Media. We're a full-service real estate marketing services business, primarily working with agents who are listing properties. So we do, virtual tours, photography, videography, of course, drone, video, and photos, floor plans, Matterports, that type of thing. So anything that an agent needs to help them market their listing. And I've been in business for 5 years. I started my business in 2020. Actually, I was going to be starting a corporate head shop business, but my first day of business, it was a joke, I guess, at the end, was going to be April Fool's Day, 2020, and COVID hit, so no headshots. So I discovered, about 3 or 4 months later, I discovered real estate, taking it seriously in 2021, and the current format and structure of my business came about at the end of 21. So 3 years at its current setup. Okay, so the first topic I want to talk about is pilot regulations and licensing requirements. That means, what do you need to fly a drone in the US? So the United States, any commercial use of drones, including real estate photography, requires an FAA Part 107 remote pilot certificate. The key word here is commercial use of drones. If you are just a hobbyist, you don't need to take or have the FAA, which is the Federal Aviation Administration, I think, Part 107. The license ensures that the operator knows airspace rules, safety procedures, and privacy regulations. So it just means that the drone pilot has studied and knows what they can and can't do, and primarily the safety procedures around operating a drone. To get the certificate, you just need to pass a knowledge test covering topics like airspace classification, weather, and FAA regulations. We'll talk more about this as we go on. Training and licensing, so just how to get that license. Training options, you can take in-person classes or online, similar to what you did to get your real estate license, right? But it's a lot less arduous than studying and training for your real estate license. But it's similar, so you can buy the books and do it all yourself, or you can do in person, or you can do online courses. And there's plenty of schools out there. You can just do a quick Google search and find some information. I have some links at the end of the presentation that are there to where you can find various online schools. Costs for training, again, they range. Typically maybe the lowest end might be $150 or up to $500, depending on how much help you need. And again, if you started training, average, about 1 to 2 months. But if you're someone who loves to study, you could buy the book today and next week take the test and you'd pass it. It's not that hard. If you've done your real estate license exam and you passed it, this is similar in that you just got to learn a lot of facts, and then they ask you them in the test. Okay. Are there any medical requirements to have a thing? Do you have to be healthy? And then how often do you need to stay current, right? Is it one time pass the test and is that it, or do you have to retake the test again and again? So for the medical, unlike manned aircraft, there is no formal medical exam required to operate a drone. That is, you don't need to take any medical or eye test before getting the FAA Part 107 certificate. As long as your physical and mental condition allows you to safely operate a drone, you're good to do so. even those with a third-class medical for piloting aircraft can legally fly drones. So if you can't pass to actually how to fly plane, you can take a test and pass the drone test. For the currency requirements, there is, so once you pass your first Part 107 certification, every 2 years you have to retake a test. It's not the same test, it's a recurrent test, and you take that every 2 years to stay current. This just, as it says there, this just helps you know if the if any regulations have changed in the 2 years. One of the ones when I first started flying drones and got my Part 107, the regulations around airports was it was a pretty strict 5-mile radius. You could not fly your drone within 5 miles of it and an airport. And now that's changed, and it's very there are certain tight zones around airports, so you could fly within a mile of an airport. When you're that close, you drones now are all connected online via the controllers. So if you're taking off close to an airport that's within a certain zone, there are certain no-fly zones, but there are zones that are, you know, within a mile that you can fly. But it'll, before you take off, you have to fill out a form and online via the controller of the drone and answer some questions and just let them know who you are and that you're qualified to fly and stuff. But if you don't check those boxes and submit the request to allow takeoff, the drone, if it's a legitimate licensed drone, it will not allow you to take off. So next section we're going to talk about is just cost and features of drone use. And one thing I mentioned, there's not many here in the audience, but if you did have a question, just put it in the chat, and then Skip will be the curator of those questions at the end. Privacy issues. So this is a concern, and I've had a few people, if I'm flying the drones over a home, you know, you'll always get a neighbor come out and because they might hear it and they're wondering what's going on. So I'm always very apologetic. I'm fully open with what I'm doing. I let them know that the house is going on the market, and we're doing the photos and video for to help market the home for real estate. And the thing with privacy is that there really is, you know, if you're in the air, there's a lot of gray areas. There's been a few court cases, but a lot of them have sided on the part of the drone operator as far as privacy issues. Now, there are some obvious ones. If you're flying your drone, you know, in front of a high rise and you're like 4 feet away from someone's window, you know, that's, you know, you're definitely don't have really a good, you wouldn't have any really good arguments in court if you weren't doing something legitimate. I mean, if you were shooting that for an agent, of course, but if you were there for no good reason, you might want to be very careful. It's always good if you're flying like a drone and I see a neighbor, I let them know what I'm doing, so that there's no, you know, there's no anxiety. They're not concerned that someone's spying on them. That like that they're the subject of why the drone is up and running. I let them know. There have been some lawsuits, as I said, but it's always a gray area as to what. But the thing that I would stress is that be careful where you're flying your drone, know where it is, and if there's any, just be aware that of people's privacy. Now, there are part of the Part 107 regulations are things like flying over crowds and stuff like that. You cannot fly over crowds without a special authorization, right? That's one example. Okay, for real estate applications, the cost of drone use varies. So if you're hiring a professional like me or anybody else, you know, it can go, depending on who you are and what the need is, it can go from anywhere from 150 for some photos or to 400 or above, depending on what the end result is. Key features, if you're buying a drone and you want to use it yourself, just make sure it's got certain things, 4K resolution, stabilization, obstacle avoidance. Obstacle avoidance is a key one. The thing with drones is technology, like from when I started, now even the smaller drones will have all of these features built in. So if you're buying like a DJI Mini, now it'll have most of these things in there. So any drone you buy would have the quality you need to do what you need to do, if that makes sense. Challenges. There was a story I heard, there are some stories where you hear that people some agencies will use drones to fly over a home to take some photos for various reasons. I heard a story about a homeowner that had an adjusted tax bill because a drone image showed what appeared to be a swimming pool, but which was actually just a painted patio. So there are some things where drone photos can cause some issues or unintended results. So again, be careful of what you're using the photos for and who may see them, because what they can be used for may not be your intended purpose. One important thing that if you do have a drone and you're just flying it recreationally is to avoid disaster areas. If there's a fire or some other stuff, you gotta leave that airspace so that the first responders who now use drones themselves for various reasons, let them have the clear space. That's kind of obvious, but it's one of those things where you might think, I'd like to have a look at what's going on, but it's preferred no, don't. Just let the agents. And then there are around areas, there's always temporary flight restrictions that may pop up. So there are apps that you can get for iPhones and smartphones that will tell you, it uses your GPS and it tells you if it uses your location, and then immediately will let you know if there's any temporary flight restrictions associated with the area that you're in. Okay, if you do, if you are flying your drone solely for your own real estate listings, right? You're an agent, you go like, I like my photos, I don't want to pay a professional to do it. And I have a drone and I use it as a hobby, so I can take my own photos, aerial photos of the home. If any of the photos are used commercially in a commercial sense, then you will need a Part 107 license, even if it's just your own listings that you do. Any drone use that involves compensation, direct or indirect, is considered commercial and therefore requires proper certification. The other thing that most casual drone users wouldn't even think about is just insurance, liability insurance. It's very important that you have yourself covered, because as you know, it's very easy if you're not experienced, and even if you are experienced, accidents happen, and you can hit a pole or hit a car or, God forbid, hit a person flying a drone and cause some injury or property damage that someone would need some compensation for. So at the end of the presentation, there are some links to drone insurance providers. This is them. So additional resources, FAA's Drone Zone. This is part of the FAA's official website where you can go and just research some of the information. Here are two schools online, Drone Pilot Ground School or Pilot Institute. They offer trainings for your Part 107 test. Again, FAA website has lists on the temporary flight restrictions. For privacy guidelines, check out National Telecommunications Information Administration, NTIA's best practices. And then to learn more about drone insurance, there's sites called Vertifly and Skywatch.ai. Conclusions. To wrap up, drones can be an incredibly powerful tool for real estate agents, offering unique and compelling perspectives of homes. However, it's vital to understand the rules, invest in training, and ensure you are operating legally and safely. Or you could just hire a professional. That would be my recommendation in any this for any agent. Let the professionals do it. It's best as an agent to focus on your core skills. And while photography or drone flying may be a hobby, it's best just to leave it there, but let the professionals do it. And I'd love to take any questions. Feel free to contact me afterwards if you'd like any information or on getting started with drones. Thank you, guys.
Okay.
And my information is there on the screen. So it's Eric Joyce, owner, EJP.Media is the website, 415-225-9084. And my email is eric@EJP.Media.
And is it all right if I interject a few facts and figures here too?
Please do.
Okay, there's an age limit for drone pilots. For recreational, it's 16, and commercial, it's 18. And you really need to know the difference between a recreational drone use and commercial, because that's the area where you could get into trouble. Also, drones have to be registered if they're over 0.55 pounds and marked with an ID.
Yes.
There are limitations on flying at night as well, and in weather has to be at least 3-mile visibility. And commercial drone pilots need to keep a log of their use. Let's see, cost, not registered. Yeah, some of the penalties could be pretty hefty too. If it's if it's not registered, the civil penalty can be up to $27,500, and criminal up to $250,000, and or imprisonment. So be careful.
Yeah.
And it can
One thing, Skip,
operate.
there just while the point on registering, there's people sometimes mix up the commercial use and the registration. So
Yeah.
the registration is just based on weight off. It doesn't care what you use it for. You still, if you're using it, even if it doesn't need to be registered and you're using it for commercial use, you still need Part 107. So it's kind of like to use it commercially, even if it doesn't need to be registered, you still need a Part 107. Some people get confused on that one.
Yeah.
They think, oh, it doesn't need to be registered, so I don't need the Part 107 to use it. But to use it commercially, you still need the Part 107.
Yeah. And then in summary, again, you can operate up to 400 feet, daylight flying, and also line of sight. You have to be able to see the drone while you're using it. You just can't let it go, out of your sight. So anyway, anybody have any more questions? I see there's nothing in the chat. I did put a link in the chat to NAR, which talks about drone usage, which more or less is everything that we've already covered, but you might want to use that as your kind of baseline on drone usage.
So the NAR video that you put up there, have you
Not a
watched?
video, it's a link to NAR's website on drone usage.
Is it a paper? Is it a video? Is it a guide? What is it?
Check it and see, Julie.
Well,
Julie's in a meeting.
It's NAR's requirements on drone flying. It's like any other thing that you'd want to check with NAR. It's what they say you need to do for drone flying.
okay, so from you looking at it, what did NAR say? Did they say, now you guys, you behave, you just don't? If you're
Like
gonna
I
buy a
said,
drone,
the
what
So
you have to do
here's
or
the
not.
page.
there it is. Thank
There's
you.
the page.
Oh, thanks, Eric.
Thank
Right
you.
on. Right on.
So it's basically everything we just covered, but you have it all on one site now, and
Yeah.
now this is officially NAR's position on drone usage. So you might want to keep that as a
I
reference.
think right on
Does it
top
say
there,
anything?
I think right on top underneath here in very small print, it says, use a professional. Yeah. I don't know if you can see that
Yeah.
there, but yeah, it's right there.
And what does it say about privacy?
Is there one, does it say anything here, but let me see, drone technology.
I don't think it really
Yeah.
addresses privacy.
Privacy, like in my research on privacy, it all comes down to, and this is where it's a bit gray. It's if someone has a reasonable expectation of privacy, right? Then and if that can be argued in legal terms that someone should have a reasonable right of privacy, then like flying over someone's backyard and coming over their home, that's not that would be I in my understanding of it, that would be interfering with someone's privacy, right? Whereas it's legal to fly in the airspace. Like there's another thing with that comes up sometimes about national parks. It's illegal to take off from a national park, right? Because the national parks, that they're responsible for that. But the airspace above a national park is not managed by the national parks. So you can be outside a national park and fly into a national park, and then it's but you can't be in the national park while you're flying it. So again, there's lots of little wiggly bits in the regulations that the best thing is to be as conservative as you can be when you're flying a drone. Be very careful and know that you can do some serious damage. You can do some serious, you can cause injuries if you don't know what you're doing. So it's best to err always on the side of caution and be very conservative. Don't fly near people. Don't, if it's a hobby, just be very careful. And even if you don't do the commercial test, it's good to do some training on the Part 107, so you get to learn about what you can and cannot do.
You've probably seen in the news some of the instances where in the firefighting areas, they had to stop the aerial operations because there were drones there, and that can really be a problem. So here again, if you check the restrictions in the area and find out what you can and can't do, they'll typically put up a temporary restricted area, it's called, where you have both the the map part of the restriction, and then also the altitude as well. They do that for the president and some of the other high position people too. All the disasters seem to be that way. And I don't know, there seems to be more and more excursions with drones in airports now too, where somebody sees them on final or something, and there's where you're really going to get in trouble.
Yeah, no, it's very important. I mean, drones are if you just think about it, they're lethal weapons flying around and cheap. And yeah, they're so it's if you just think about the first responders who or just even the police or the military or anybody who would need to protect someone, you know how easy it is to fly with just buy a drone, put something on it, and fly it around to something. It's really easy, but it's quite difficult to defend against it. So um, it's that's why it's just stay away from any, know how to look up TFRs, what sites to do that. You do a quick Google search on your smartphone and it will immediately bring up the site, probably the FAA, and it'll use your location and it'll tell you whether you cannot fly. And there's numerous smartphone apps that you can open up, and it'll open up the map and it'll outline the areas and the different flight zones, and if there's any TFRs, it'll show those as well.
So go ahead, Jen.
Swing pilots in the group? Anybody that flies aircraft at all? Nobody? Anybody flying drones now? Nobody. Well, this is one of the reasons why I suggested this presentation, because I know there's a lot of uneducated realtors that think they can just go on Amazon and buy a drone and take off and do their own work. And boy, you can really get in trouble if you don't have the knowledge and the experience and learning what to do with drones.
So, Eric, this is Valerie. The reason we come to this meeting is we're all here. We always want to have a takeaway to educate ourselves, right? We want to get something out of every meeting to make our businesses stronger. So I have a question. I want to just probe a little bit more deeper, because I think this probably everybody this will get affected by this, is this privacy issue. So I was helping one of my colleagues prep a house for the photography day, and the photographer showed up and had his drone out, and suddenly this lady came flying across the street, screaming hysterical at him and at the realtor. She had been sunbathing naked in her backyard and was flying over her backyard. And it was unavoidable because this was in Almaden. These are high-end luxury homes on large lots. But in order where this house was on the corner, to get the right angle, he had to take the drone over her property, essentially. And so she was called the cops. I mean, it turned into a nightmare.
Yeah.
And so I've not seen, that was the only one I was present at, but I have heard this on multiple occasions for other realtors having the same situation. Is the professionals there out flying the drone, taking the real estate photographs, and we have a neighbor issue. Okay. Yeah. In a situation where it's suburban, go ahead, did you want to?
No, go on, sorry,
Okay.
I thought you were.
In this situation where it's suburban and we have lot touching lot, it's almost unavoidable, right? You're going to have aerial shots of the neighbors. And also, if you're going to have the full shot of the lot, you are going to have the perimeters of the neighbors showing in that picture as well. Yeah. So in that case, for us as professionals out in the field, what can we do, or have you seen realtors do? Do they go knock doors of neighbors in advance and say, we're having an aerial drone, on site this time, if you have concerns, contact me? Or how do you see that? How have you seen people actually handling those situations in the field?
Yeah, I mean, it's happened to me a few times, but like I said, whenever it does, I am immediately apologetic. So I try to, because if someone's riled up and so they're like, depending on what type of mode they're in, right? They'll come up and they can be, whether they mean to be, they can just, because they don't know what's going on, so they're trying to protect themselves. but also get a point across. And sometimes that can come across the wrong way. So you got to understand that that's the frame, the mindset that they're in, and you immediately got to diffuse it. And what I do is I just would smile and be apologetic. And then for someone like the story that you talked about, I would immediately, show the photos that were taken. And if by chance, because a lot of times the angles aren't right. If you're flying, they might be in it, but the angles wouldn't, you're not looking straight down at their backyard. You're looking at the neighboring, the house adjacent. So the angles wouldn't show the person. But if they did, you would immediately, hey, listen, apologize again. And you just delete the photos, because that's just the right thing to do. Whether
So in
and
that
again,
case, let me just interject here, because
Yeah.
I want to go deeper into this. She insisted that the photographer give her the flash card. She was not satisfied with just that he was going to delete it on the spot. She was concerned that he had it, in the camera or on the
Yeah,
flash.
I mean it is, but yeah, she doesn't have any right to the photos, and that would but so what you want to avoid is the again, the other thing that you want to be careful of, right, is you got to look at the area you're in and the income of the homes you're photographing, right? So if the homes are $5 million plus, right, and these people are making millions of dollars a year, a court case to sue you is not a big deal for them. But for you, it's going to be huge and a big inconvenience, right? So again, it's I think if you, depending on the area, right, and the value of the homes around, I like your thought on doing some door knocking the day before the photography happens. You just say, hey, listen, this is what we're doing. If you have any questions, please give us a call. And then show some examples, maybe of the types of photos that you've done in the past. With this is what we're doing, and because there's no, if you think about it, we all see the Google satellite. If you go to Google Maps or Apple Maps, you can go zoom in on a home and get an aerial shot of it, right? What are they going to do about that, right? I mean, every place, like they've been viewing from satellite photos, and now those are pretty high res, right? So, but it's best to err on the side of caution, and if you can avoid that before it happens, right? So again, if you think there might be problems with the neighbors, let them know what you're doing. But again, a lot of it does depend on like I was shooting some homes in San Jose, and flying the drone up, and you're getting angles all around. So a lot of times you might be over a house, and that homeowner might get concerned because there's a drone flying overhead, but actually you're not taking photos of that house. You're going at an angle, so you're actually getting a low shot of the home you want. But this guy came out, and so I was nice and stuff until I realized, because I was going to give him my information and all that stuff, right? And I was talking to him, and then I was, oh, this guy's a little bit of a gangster here, and because he mentioned he was going to shoot down the drone, and I was like, okay. But I was still nice and polite, and I said, listen, I was about to give him a card, and I said, probably not a good idea to give him a card, and because he was very, confrontational, aggressive, but controlled. So you just gotta, it's like just backing away. I just gotta slowly back away, and got out of that one. But yeah, it's try to just like, when I'm bringing the drone up, and if I'm seeing neighbors walking around the home and stuff, I'll always stop and talk to them and let them know what I'm doing. And if they have questions, most of them don't mind. They're going like, oh, I've had a few neighbors come out and go, like, they came out a bit concerned, but then when you tell them and talk to them with a smile, they're immediately, oh, okay, good. And then they start talking about, oh, I wonder how much is the home going to sell for, you know, because they're interested.
But what are you seeing realtors do? Are you seeing realtors engage with the neighbors or not?
Most of that, no. I mean, most times when I get there, there's no one around, and you know, we're just doing what we're doing. I think a lot of it would depend on the value of the home and the neighborhood, and the agent then would have to know whether they think it's a problem or not. And certainly those big estate homes, if there is someone out in their backyard and you don't know it, it's could cause a problem. So yeah, that's a good that's a good question, Valerie, and it's one of those gray areas that there's the law, but then there's the common sense and common decency that you want to respect people's sense of safety and privacy, right?
Well, you know, what I boil it down to, and going back to that situation that I was at, you know, of course, the realtor was extremely upset after that happened, and we talked about it, and I said, look, you know, anytime I've done flipping, when I do any kind of construction or something like that, that I know is gonna generate noise, I always do a walk around in the neighborhood and say, hey, on Tuesday, we're doing the demo day, from 9 to 12, it's gonna be noisy. So if you have anything scheduled or there's a conflict, let me know ahead of time, right? So
Excellent.
it just sends a message to the neighbors that we respect you, we're acting as a
Yes.
community here, and I know that my actions do affect you. And if you have concerns, I want to
Yes.
be receptive to them and address them. So
Yes.
like in this situation, if we had let that lady know, or the realtor had let that lady know, she wouldn't have been out there, right?
Yeah.
She would have known. So I think that can at least cut off preemptively some issues.
Yeah.
Other things are just literally, you know, the people who are living in more exclusive neighborhoods are there because they want to pay for the privacy.
Yes.
And may not be able to avoid the issues.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure. It's and I think it's just, you know, just to be delicate around it. And like I said, I'm never like, oh, well, I can be here, you know, I have the right to be. No, never do that approach. It's because that's, you know, if you take a stance like, well, I have the right to be here, now you've immediately created conflict. Whereas I always want to be, view it from their sides and respect their requests. So because for both, like for me, when I'm there, I'm representing the agent and the homeowner, you know, so I want to behave as though, you know, so that to reduce and to, because a lot of times, you know, if you come in at the right way, you can diffuse things and then be the best of buddies, all in, you know, within a few minutes, right? Because you let them know what you're doing, why you're there. And it's a good question about a lot of times with the card, it's like you might have a lot of other work on a, you know, a card, and giving them the card, you know, that's a tricky one. But just letting them know that you've deleted them, if there does happen to be stuff, right? But yeah,
Eric?
that was a good one. Yes.
Oh, hi, this is Lynn. Nice to meet you. Sorry, I've been in and out here, but I just had a general question. So your company, do you guys do just drones, or do you do like all kinds of digital assets?
Everything,
for
yeah. So
listings?
we're a full service. So like from
Oh,
the
wonderful.
virtual tours, the websites, photos, video, Matterport, anything you
Okay.
need. You know the typical things, floor
Okay,
plans.
so we're Zillow Premier Partners, and for our photographers to work on our listings, we need them to be Zillow Showcase certified. Is that something you may be open to doing?
I haven't done that, but I've I remember back when I started, someone was telling me something, there was something about that, and I looked into it.
Uh-huh.
But maybe we could talk and you could educate me on what needs to happen to become that. I've looked into it, but for my business growth, it didn't crop up a lot, maybe 1 in 100, right? But it just didn't
Oh.
seem to be a lot. But
Mhm.
happy to do it if it's something that is a benefit and a need and would show yeah.
Oh,
But
good.
definitely,
Okay.
if you put your information in the chat, I can copy it and then I can give you a call
Sure.
and
Yeah,
maybe
I'm on
we.
my mobile, but I got your information, so I'll
Okay,
email you. But just so you know, so I'm a listing specialist, so like 95% of what I do are listings. I do have high volume, and we do have a real need for one more photographer. We do just have one photographer, but he's being recommended and stretched out thin. And it would be really nice to have another one that is Zillow certified, because
sure.
uh or showcase certified, because sometimes when he's not available, it'd be great to have somebody else who could
Yeah,
run
yeah.
out and do the
Um,
things.
yeah,
Yeah,
and my goal for next year, as I grow my business, will be to add in more photographers. So I'm not just
nice.
one person, so there'll be a group. And then that's good to know that this Zillow Showcase certification is something that I
Mhm,
should be looking at for the
mhm,
photographers that I want to work with.
mhm. Yeah, I mean, I don't know the details, but I can connect you with the people that do, and
Okay,
yeah, and then you get
awesome,
certified, and yep, then we can use you. Yeah, that's awesome.
perfect.
Thank you.
Amazing. I just want to drop back to, I put up on the screen a video that, I was referred to, drones flying over private property, can you stop them? And, it's a really good, it's short, it's only about 13 minutes. So it answers a lot of the questions we've been talking about, and it's a really good reference for just basic knowledge of airspace. And you mentioned the story, you had the story, Eric, of the neighbor who was a little wonky. And,
Yeah,
and so it addresses that kind of situation in this video. So I put the link in the chat. And so if everybody wants to pull that up, they can have it for later.
awesome.
And, yeah, I got that from my brother, actually, because my brother's a videographer and a photographer and a filmmaker. And so I had a conversation with him yesterday about what we're doing today. And he sent me the link to that video. And then another video that talked about the product that you were talking about, the MJ.
Yeah, the DJI.
DJI, yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, I'm learning way more stuff than, than
Yeah,
I thought.
DJI is like, the Nikon or the Canon,
Yeah,
they're for film and photography. DJI just over the last 10 years have just, exploded in the drone world and are the kind of go like they're the top of the line when it comes to drones. And the thing with DJI is that they're based in China, and there's some concerns and there's some stuff happening that may make them unavailable here in the States just because they're based out of China and there's some concerns. But until then, they are very good, but there are other alternatives too for drones.
yeah, and both of those videos just reinforced what you had said, and that is actually the best thing to do is hire a professional.
That way you're out of the loop and the professional, but it's good to make sure the professional has all the certifications, knows what they're doing so that they don't indirectly get you into hassle. Because one of the most important things in my business is that I am a representation of the agent when I'm on the job. And that means even when I'm talking to the homeowners, I'm very aware that I'm I'm an extension of their relationship with the agent. So it's really important to show up well and communicate well and be pleasant. And that circle includes the neighbors around.
Amazing. Anybody have any more questions? Hi Edie, how you doing? I see you there. And Mickelin. Skip, got anything more?
Nope.
Awesome.
Covered
Good
all pretty good.
afternoon.
Thank you, Eric. This has been really educational.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, what do you
It was
guys,
fun
I
to
mean,
do.
yeah, so, that was a really good story for you to share, Valerie, and like, cause this is all new stuff. It's a new
Yeah.
conversation for us to have with our homeowners, our sellers, and so it's kind of brand new territory. What are you guys thinking about all that?
Yeah, I mean, just Valerie's story is what these meetings are all about. Sharing that, like you don't hear that type of information on when you search, but that's real life. It could get really serious really quickly, and it's understanding that that can happen, and to have it in your back pocket, some strategies of how to defuse and how to get that person back on your side quickly, and make them know that there's not really a concern. But yeah, that's a great story.
Edie, do you have any stories from SoCal?
No, this is all very interesting, you know, and I learned something, you know, in case I do engage with someone, you know, with the drones, but I haven't used the drones on any of the properties that I've sold, just, you know, the regular pictures. But yeah, but it's very interesting to think of. Yeah.
Well, Steph's gonna start coming up, so
Yeah.
we want to be ahead of the game.
Alrighty, guys.
All
I
right.
have got another thing to do at 12:30, but thank you for the invite, Julie. Honored. I love presenting when I can, and if there's any help I can give, it's fantastic to be able to do that. So thank you for asking.
Yes, and all of your contact information is in the bulletin now, and it will be again next week. So
Okay, awesome.
everybody can get to you. All
All
right,
right, guys.
everybody.
Nice to meet you.
Hi, Eric. All right,
Bye.
thanks, you guys. Have a great week.
Okay.